Hello, Flawless family. I'm so happy to be sitting down with our flawless friend and advisory board member, Chantel Garrett. And now, Chantel is a mom, a family member of someone with a mental health disorder, and one of our favorite advocates. She actually founded Strong 365 to help young people become more educated about brain health and to help them get connected to care support earlier. So, with that, Chantel, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun. Thank you for doing this too.
Of course, of course. So, the first question of our 5 questions for Mental Health Month campaign is what has been the most challenging aspect of the COVID crisis for you? And what has been a gift or a silver lining?
Yeah. Well, first off, I mean, it's kind of hard to complain. Just, I feel incredibly grateful that myself and my family have stayed well through this, especially, just in light of having some friends and family who have been sick and have lost people. I just feel overwhelming sense of gratitude that we've been okay. Um, I think, some of the challenges have been like everybody else, like trying to find routine through this, homeschooling 2 kids. I have 2 daughters, ages 9 and 12, so they're in fourth and sixth grade. And it's challenging. It's challenging to like have everybody find a space in the house and find a new routine with work being at home, school being at home. We have a dog and a cat. And so it's, constant interruption and constant kind of irritation with, questions and the dog bursts in and all sorts of disruption to like normal life. So I think, just finding, it took us probably, I'd say 3 weeks to find some peace and routine and like expectations of what time roughly certain things happen around the house and who's going to be where and things like that. So that took us a little bit. And then I think like the overwhelming silver lining that has smacked me up the head and my husband too is like, wow, our family is really cool. Like we are having a really good time together. um, Definitely we fight. Definitely we've had our disagreements and, like I said, irritations. But overall, I feel like we have come together as a team. Like I've been thinking about us as a team a lot recently, because I think the way we've come together in support of our neighbors, in support of my mother-in-law and taking care of elderly, giving food, giving back to the community, like that, it's just been awesome to pull together. So that's, I think, the number one thing. And friends too, like we've found unique ways, mostly via Zoom and FaceTime, to get together with friends, but it really solidifies how important these connections are with people, and reminds you how critical those relationships are. So those are some of the silver linings.
No, I love all of that, especially the piece with the connection, because here at Flawless, we always talk about how important it is to stay connected. So I love that you've been doing that. That's actually staying connected and talking to friends is like one of my big methods to practice self-care. But I want to know, how have you been taking care of your own personal mental health during this time?
Yeah, it's been a challenge. So I'll just say that. I mean, like I just talked about routine, it took a few weeks to figure it out. Um, a really, really big part of my self-care week in, week out has typically involves getting to a yoga studio and getting to a gym. And when that was gone, it was very kind of disruptive to my overall system, like my body, and clearly my brain was like, what's up? And so we had to get creative. For me, I also think losing me time, losing quiet time, losing time to be reflective and to think and to meditate, um, was a real challenge. And it took some time to figure out how to work that in our kind of new paradigm here. Um, so some of the things that I've been doing since figuring it out, is really like carving that time out. For me, it's about getting up in the morning, exercising. I read somewhere a few weeks ago that the best thing you can be doing for yourself is exercising, getting your heart rate up for 30 minutes a day, and getting outside for 30 minutes a day. Sometimes I combine those two things and I go out for a jog with my dog. Sometimes I can't combine it, but I get it in one way or the other. I would say most days I do that. And on the few days that I haven't done it, I feel it. I feel the difference. Um, in the first few weeks when stress was really, really high, so much news, so much overwhelm and shock, I let myself sleep more. That's been less true in the past couple of weeks, um, but I've been okay. But those first few weeks, I let myself sleep a lot more than I normally would. I stopped setting my alarm. My body needed it. And I think part of it is like just recognition that we are processing a lot and we don't even realize, like we don't realize the stress, um, that's going through our bodies and that what we're dealing with day in and day out. So letting yourself sleep was really, really big for me. And then creativity has been really cool. And that's one way that I've connected with our kids. We've done ridiculous amounts of baking, eating in the kitchen, and like exploring things we've never done. We've been like getting into different ethnic foods, and um, we bought a new blender. We've been, trying out all kinds of stuff. And I've really let the kids lead. And I'm in there just having fun with them and exploring. My older daughter taught me how to do a self-portrait that she had learned in school in her art class. That was really meditative and fun for me to sit and draw. That is not something I do on a regular basis. So finding little ways to be creative. I've been gardening like nobody's business. Uh, and and now with the time of year, like everything's coming up, and it is so absolutely beautiful. It is such a blessing to be able to have a backyard and do this. But we've been eating out of our garden. I've been bringing in flowers from the garden into the house, and so just all of those things, outside, sleep, creativity, lots of exercise. Those are kind of my go-tos, and therapy. I will say, like I go to therapy. My therapist now is, we're doing it on Zoom, and it's not the same for me. I will say that it is not the same, but it's helping me stay grounded. Um, and it's helping me process emotions, recognize and process emotions. And so that for me is a critical kind of weekly check-in for me. And it's me time too. It's time to focus on me and focus on my growth, push myself in different ways, and let things that don't feel okay kind of be okay. Just allowing that radical acceptance around allowing what is, whatever that is. So those are some of my practices.
Wow, that was an amazing list of practice resources that, I'm writing some of those things down mentally to try later, especially the gardening thing, because my mother, like she's really, it started off with just like a lettuce plant. Like we had a lettuce, and then I guess she learned that you could put it in a cup of water and then it grows. And so we have our own little garden too that's her little project as well.
Awesome.
Also touched on a little bit about routine. Like that's been a big piece of views. Like you develop a routine with your family. And so I actually want to like dive further into that. Being a mom, having that development routine. Like, what is your daily routine? What do? You wake up, how, like all the self-care practices that you talked about. Like, where does that get incorporated? How do you deal with, the kids, the husband, and what is Chantel's daily routine that maybe some of us might want to start embodying?
Sure. Well, I'll give you when it looks really good. I'll give you that day. So this is with full recognition that it is not perfect every day. I have some funky days where I get up and this thing does not happen, but I will share a few things that I do try to do that are very consistent for me. And many of like all these things actually have been going on for a long time. So they're just processes, just behaviors that I've integrated, and through these last few weeks, they've been incredibly helpful to me. So one of them is this idea that I learned this from an old boss of mine who shared with me that the day really starts the night before. And that for me this is a critical piece. So I run Strong 365. I've got the kids. I've got a number of things happening. I'm taking care of mother-in-law and so many things. So I rely on my calendar. very much so, to tell me kind of what's next and how my day goes. And that's just my process. It may not be everybody's process. For me, I spend a few minutes looking at my calendar for the next day in the evening. And I just take it in and I kind of walk through it in my mind of like, okay, and I will also try, and I don't always do it, but I will try to gut check myself on, is this feasible? Like, is this for real what you can do? Because if you know, one of my challenges is that I will try to take on far too much and then feel disappointed at the end of the day when you only did, you know, 6 of the 12 things you wrote down. So I do kind of, I look over my calendar. I really kind of ask myself, is this reasonable? And I will move things around. I will ask people to move meetings. I will shift my own expectations that night before. In the morning, before I leave my bed, I do a very quick vision exercise. And because I've reviewed my calendar the night before, I know what to expect that day. And my eyes are still closed oftentimes. And I just envision, this is another thing I learned from a dear friend of mine, but I just envision, like, what is that day going to look like? What is it going to look like when I move through an interview with Trey? What is it going to look like when I, update our website later? What is it going to look like when I write, a chapter in a book, and so on and so forth? And so I just imagine myself moving through it with some amount of like easefulness. And that for me is a personal practice because, again, I kind of have this, I can get like a high energy around how many things can I do? And for me, I have to envision ease. I have to envision, like, how does this happen with love, like self-compassion and love and nurturing, and with a little bit of ease. And that has made moving through these last few weeks, I think, a lot more peaceful. And then I do a short meditation. For me, it's just a few minutes. When I have time, I'll do a little more, but oftentimes it is less than 5 minutes. And I have a mantra, that I use, but I say, whatever works for you is great. And then again, I sort of already said this, but for me, exercise happens in the morning. If it doesn't happen in the morning, it will not happen. That's just who I am and how it is. If I get to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it is very unlikely that I'm hopping on a bike or taking a run or whatever. So first thing, I have a cup of coffee. I usually have a little tiny bite to eat, and then I exercise. And that's sometimes yoga, and it's sometimes running or bike. I try to just cycle through and mix that up. And then on the best days, I shower, which is totally amazing and like self-care and beautiful. And I get dressed. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes I work the rest of the day in spandex, and that's good too. But the days that I shower and put clothes on, like real clothes, like this kind of situation, I feel good. Like I feel even better. So I sort of highly recommend, when you can, like, do that. And when you don't, like, give yourself a break and enjoy it. Enjoy being in your quasi PJs. And then the last thing I do in the morning before really like diving into work is, this has been really cool and not something we could always do before. So silver lining, we have breakfast oftentimes together as a family. My kids have been getting up way late in the morning. So I've done all those things I mentioned, and then they're up, and then we have breakfast. And just like sets the day off. I can kind of get them organized. My younger daughter needs some support. We've just started co-working together. So this is my setup in the corner of a basement kind of office. And right on the other side of my desk is her desk. And that's so I can guide her. She needs a lot of time management kind of support. And so we come on into the office together. She sits down, I sit down. Sometimes we each put headphones on so we don't drive each other crazy. But every little while, I'll check in. How's it going? Where are you now? What does your to-do list look like? And I just kind of help support her. So that's what my morning looks like on the best of days. Not always that way, but I will say, like, checking your calendar the night before, having a vision and or meditation in the morning, and some exercise, those things for me are 99% of the time that's happening. And it's happening because I've made it a practice, but also I've made it a practice because it really helps me. Like it keeps me well and focused.
Yeah, that like you just dropped a lot of gems just now. Like so many, especially I love the quote, the day really starts the night before. Like that. I'm telling you, I'm making a lot of mental notes that I'm gonna go back and watch this interview and be like, okay, I'm doing this now, I'm doing this now. Like I'm loving all these pieces of advice. But what I'm really appreciating that I'm hearing from you is that you're really patient with yourself. Like you're balanced, you allow, room for slack. You're not, we're all trying to do our best. And I think that what I'm really appreciating is that you accept your best effort, whatever the results of that is. And it's kind of like, see, at Flawless, we believe in seeing the light and the goodness, or what we call the perfection in everyone. And I just really feel that you're seeing that in yourself. So moving on to our next question, I want to ask, like, what does seeing the perfection in every person mean to you?
Yeah, well, this is one of the reasons I've been involved with Flawless for a number of years. I deeply believe in the mission and the vision of the organization. And so this notion of seeing the perfection in every person, again, this is a personal practice. It's something that we all, we all have to start with ourselves, and then we can begin to give, and that sort of, sort of grows into caring for your loved ones, caring for your community, caring for, your broader community in the world in a different way. And it's a mindset shift. So it really starts like within. For me, I've talked about yoga a little bit. It's a really important practice in my life. And one of the things that seeing the perfection means to me, I often think about this word namaste, which is a greeting in Sanskrit, and you'll hear it at the end of a yoga class, and we'll say namaste. And really, what that means is um, seeing the light. I see the light in my deepest self sees your deepest self, or my light sees the light in you. There are different ways to translate it, but something like that. And that deepest self is like capital S self. It means it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter what issues you have. It doesn't matter what illnesses you have. It doesn't matter, if your life looks one way or the other way, or, how bad it's been for you. What matters is your deepest intentions, and deepest sort of your childlike self. And so I think that seeing the perfection is really getting in touch with that capital S self for you, for each person. And when you can tap into that, what I think you find is you can give yourself more of a break, more, like you were just saying, like this is a personal practice because it's hard for me, because I've had to learn how to offer myself nurturing. That's not easy for me to do. It's a practice. And but I think seeing the perfection starts in you, in your heart, in yourself, in your core self, and is a practice in um, letting go of judgment of yourself, and really embracing what is there, even the darkness, whatever that is. And when you can do that for yourself, you begin to be able to do that for others in a much deeper way. So that's kind
Wow.
of what it's like for me.
Seeing the perfection, and I love that. And that's a flawless way to put it on an individual level. But now we think more holistically on a global level. What does a flawless world look like to you?
I mean, I mean, that would be sort of the deepest expression, right? To see self-compassion really spread in such a way that when we can all see each other, see each other's deepest selves, see each other, and really respect each other in that deepest way. Um, that is like world changing for sure. Um, I think it means really going far beyond tolerance. Like when I remember like being a kid and middle school and high school, and there's all this like tolerance work, of like how do we tolerate each other? It's like, is that enough? That's not enough. Like, tolerance is kind of BS. Like I feel like we need to move beyond tolerance, and we need to really learn how to be curious about each other's experiences. Like I want to know, Trey, like what is it like for you? And maybe you want to know like, well, I want to know, like, what is it like? What is it like to be in your shoes? And I hope people might be curious about me too, but I think when we ask ourselves that, what must it be like for that person? That person who's irritating the hell out of me, that person who is my guru because I can't seem to be in the same space with them. Why is that? Can I be curious about that? And I think if we can be like genuinely curious about what the experience is for other people, if we can feel that in our body, like feel what that must feel like if they live in fear or if they have a heavy burden that they're carrying, and we can relate to that, and we can do that at scale as a population, the world will change for the better.
No, that's amazing. That's like compassion is such an important tool that, like you said, like we're more so taught tolerance and compassion, and to think about, what everyone's going through. It reminds me of what, Dr. Stuart Avalon talks about all the time. People do what they can. Kids do what they can. Like, people are trying to do their best. So I just loved how you touch on that. But with that, again, thank you so much, Chantel, for taking the time. What's the best way that people can find you and support what you're doing and what your organization is doing? What's the best way for people to follow up on you guys?
Yeah, thank you for that. Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been super fun to have this conversation with you and connect with the team as well at Flawless. It'd be awesome if people want to connect. Please, you can find us on our website and learn a whole lot more about teen and young adult mental health, as well as how we're connecting youth to mental health support and care. We have a peer chat support line that is free and anonymous, and you can get on with a passcode that's on our homepage at strong365.org. And you can also find us on all the social channels. We are at Strong365 Community. So you can find us there and interact, and join us for some upcoming events as well.
Awesome. And as always, we'll make sure to write that in at the bottom of the screen for everyone watching this interview. So with that, Chantel, thank you so much again, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Trey. This has been really fun. Thank you.